Hey guys, this is Sliver here again with another episode of Sliver Plays Hearthstone Arena, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys because I recorded this a long time ago, so I don't really remember what happens in this arena run. So let's find out, shall we? I do remember, however, that we are gonna play as a priest this time. Also, we should turn the music on. I'm sorry, I did forget to turn the music on before the recording of the video, but this should be fine now. So, okay. We're gonna have to draft the cards. Also, don't be surprised if you see some lag in this video. I don't know what happened. Most likely Fraps started to not work again. Also, I think there is a cut between the second and the third game, so I should be able to cover it for you. But let's get to drafting. Shattered Sun is pretty good, so most likely I will be choosing it if I get the chance to do so. Also, as a priest, you can't really rely on mind control as your endgame anymore, since, well, it's quite a long time ago that it's been nerfed, so it costs 10 mana instead of 8, which is pretty much worse, because it makes it much later that you can use it. But many people thought that it was a bit overpowered at 8 mana, myself included. It's really good to pick an Azure Drake even if you don't have any spells, which we do now with the Holy Nova. I don't really like Light Spawn in Priest because it's very vulnerable to silence, and with an easy silence like that you can easily lose the whole game. I do like Mind Control Tech though, because most of the time you lose games by either running out of cards or your opponent has an overwhelming amount of creatures, so Mind Control Tech helps you maybe come back into the game. So we do get one Mind Control. I do not advise you to take more than one in an arena run. And we do get our second Azure Drake as well. We have an okay-ish endgame with the Temple Enforcer and the War Golem. Sorry. Also, a card that I do not really like is that Tralmar Foreseer with the Wind Fury. I don't generally like Wind Fury creatures, because I think you have to be ahead to make them work. I do like the Temple Enforcers though, because those are those kinds of cards that make you trade much easily. If a creature that is already on the board has +3 health, then that might make the difference between that creature dying or not. So that's why I like it. We do have a Shadow Madness as well, which is pretty good, because ideally you would make a 2-for-1 trade with it by killing 2 of your opponent's creatures. Also, you can steal the death rattle of some cards, including that 2-1 Gnomish Inventor, I think. No, that's the 1-1. So there's a gnome with 2-1 stats, and you can Shadow Madness it, and kill it, and then you get the death rattle, which is pretty good. That's why I like Shadow Madness. So I would say this deck is not so bad, because if you get the right cards at the right moments, then it is pretty much really hard to stop. So we have a pretty decent hand, and we can deal with stuff that the Paladin puts down, I think. About coining at the first turn, I generally don't really advise it, only if you have a follow-up to it. And with the bomber in your hand, I strongly recommend it, strongly not recommend it, because you can do just like that on turn 2 and kill an enemy creature for essentially free. So we fairly easily established board control, and we are looking forward to maintaining it. I'm hesitating to drop the cat there because of it's very vulnerable to consecration. But the thing is that I only have 2 health creatures, 2 or less health, so I didn't really have a choice there. If he doesn't really have consecration here, then I should be okay. Against Paladin you always have to be aware of the 4 drops, which are mainly True Silver, which is a 4/2 weapon that heals the user for 2 each time it swings, and Consecration, which is a AoE. AoE stands for Area of Effect, and Consecration does 2 damage to all of your opponent's creatures. So those are the really good Paladin class specific cards at 4. Well, obviously I'm very vulnerable to Consecration here as well, but I think that he didn't really have it last time, so he would have to draw it. He did get a blue gill, which is quite of a problem. It is a charge creature, but unfortunately for him, he didn't really manage to clear out my board. So I would say I'm pretty much ahead still. Okay, he drops the Tazdingo and bubbles it. I would really like him to go for 3 creatures, so I can steal some of it, one of it, with the mind control attack. But it doesn't really happen. It didn't really happen yet. So here I can choose to trade one of my creatures and my Divine Shield for just damaging the Tazdingo, which wouldn't really be good. So I think I'll just pass the turn or heal myself. Nope. Oh, this is pretty good as well. He decides to Kings the Tazdingo, which is now a 7-6, which is pretty bad. But unfortunately for him, I do have a Shadow over Death in my hand, which would take care of the 7-6. So I would say I have the card advantage here. Also, I should have the board advantage after the trades. So I'm pretty much ahead, I think. One play is here to attack the 3-3 and heal the light spawn. Or maybe I should have coined into the Azure Drake as well. That might not have been pretty bad as well. But in the end, I think I'm still ahead. And I'm about to draw a card with the Azure Drake, so I can still maintain the card advantage. I think it's not very smart to attack me in that situation. I would have gone with the board control there. Okay, so we have to start thinking about how we want to establish board control. Obviously, ideally, we would want to get rid of that snake, but it's not looking to be possible. But I don't really have that much of a huge creature on board, so it seems he can't really decide what to attack. 4-4 for the snake is not too bad. Ideally with the snake you would get some bigger cards, like an ogre or something. Even though I think it would have been better for him to attack the light spawn with the snake. But I guess he was afraid of the spell power of the Azure Drake. But we are still looking good here. Obviously against Paladin the best combo they could have is Equality Consecration, which I think is a really powerful combo. Obviously Equality changes the health of all creatures, including the paladins, to 1, and then Consecrate hits all of the enemy creatures. So if they didn't really have a Divine Shield before, then everything, including the biggest creatures, die to the Equality Consecrate combo. But fortunately we didn't have it this time, and we continue to have our board advantage in this first game. The best thing he could have is Lay on Hands, which not only heals himself but also gives him a lot of cards, and that way he could have come back into this game. Interestingly enough, I miss Lay on Hands in my collection, even though I have like 4 or 5 legendaries already. I don't know, it's an epic, so it's not that common to have, but I would really like to get Lay on Hands because I think it's a great comeback card for paladins. Also, my paladin is the highest level class. Now it's like 46, I think, or 47. Compared to the priest, which you could just see, it's much higher level. And we've got 1-0, which is always good to start with. Even though I seem to be able to make quite a bit of comebacks with my decks, because sometimes I just lose 2 matches or lose the first 2 matches and then win like 5 or 6. So it's not the end of the earth to lose 2 matches in a row. Basically, Arena is much better to earn packs than it is to buy them, so I would strongly recommend, if you have some gold, then you should spend it on an arena run instead of a pack, because most likely even if you lose all 3 matches, then you will get like 25 or 30 gold, and if you manage to go up to like 6 or 7, you get a lot more gold. That it makes it more viable than just buying a pack. Also, it is very exciting to play an arena run, in my opinion, of course.
Put this apple on your head.
Okay, so we're playing against a mage here who has a pretty good opening hand, it seems. I can drop the Panther here and hope he won't juggle into it. But even if he doesn't, then I'm not in a very good spot. Fortunately for me, I do have a Shadow Madness. But he does have an Arcane Missiles. I find that the Arcane Missiles tends to hit the creature 2 times, so we got very lucky there, in my opinion. And I think here's time to Shadow Madness. As you can see, I will be able to get a 2-for-1 with the Shadow Madness and come back into the game. If I Shadow Madness the Pint-sized Summoner or the Mana Worm, then I can kill one of his creatures, and then the Shadow Madness guy will die as well. So I Shadow Madness the Mana Worm because I think it's worth much more than the Pint-sized. Fun fact that earlier in the beta, Shadow Madness, the Pint-sized Summoner was better because it reduced the cost of the first creature you summoned on the turn by 2, which is a huge amount. Nowadays, well, most of the time it doesn't really make much of a difference, because 1 mana is, well, sometimes you can summon an extra creature or do a spell with that, but most of the time it just saves you mana, but you don't really use that. So I don't really think that Pint-sized Summoner is a really good card. Okay, so we can drop the Yeti here. The problem with the Yeti is that you can ping it and attack with the 4/4 creature. Well, that's the best case scenario for me, which is not very good. But I didn't think I had any other plays. He decides to frostbolt it, which is interesting, and he does go for the face. Even though it might look bad, it's not very bad because well, I'm a priest, I can heal myself for a lot of hit points, and also the mage is out of cards, or she only has 2 cards compared to my 6, so that shouldn't be a problem if I can deal with the cards on the board, which I should. Okay, so here's one of the cuts that I was talking about. Sorry about that, guys. I still have to master the art of prepsing, so that's why the last part of that match was lost. But I can assure you guys, you didn't really miss anything, because it was very easy to win that game. So we are up to 0 now, which is pretty good. I don't really know how to play as a priest. I generally don't pick it, but I didn't have much of a choice there, because all the other classes there were, well, not for me, to say the least. So that's why we're going with priest, and our third match is gonna be up against a rogue. And he opens in an interesting way. This suggests that he might be going for a lot of aggro play. Aggro means that he will play a lot of small creatures and try to rush me down very early. Fortunately for me, I do have some early game cards, including the smite, and I decide to smite his creature because it would easily kill my 1-drop creature. Ideally, I would have a 2-drop in this situation, but I only have the boar, which is well, not very good. I very rarely choose the boar, and that's because well, 1 damage doesn't really change anything. There are 2 damage chargers like the Bluegill Murloc, which is actually pretty good, but well, I kinda had to choose the boar among some pretty bad cards. Okay, so we can now coin out a 4-mana creature against the Demolisher. I would have been better off if that Demolisher didn't hit the Divine Shield. Now we might get Deadly Poisoned, which we do. Deadly Poison is a pretty good card in my opinion for the rogue. I should find a way to kill the Demolisher somehow. I do decide to use the ooze to get rid of the 3 attack weapon, and then play as many creatures as I can, so to reduce the chance of the Demolisher hitting the ooze, which is my biggest creature now. Also next turn I could use the Shattered Sun Cleric to buff the ooze and get rid of the Demolisher. Hopefully the rogue lets me do it. Hopefully. It seems so. The Mad Bomber would be very dangerous to me. I don't think that I decide to play it. Well, the obvious play here is to use the Shattered Sun on the ooze and then kill the Demolisher. And after that we can kill the Scarlet Crusader that she has. I don't really feel sorry about sacrificing those two creatures because of the 1 health that they have. That means the rogue can easily get rid of them with his weapon, of course. So now I think we're kind of even. Both of us have the same amount of cards if you count the ones on the board. And I can get rid of that Frost Elemental with the Shadow over Death. Seems like that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm holding on to the Cabal Shadow Priest, which really gets value if it actually steals a creature, not just by itself. So that's why I didn't really play it yet. Okay, so now we definitely should get rid of that Wind Fury creature. If we do not get rid of it, then it might get a 2-for-1. So we're hoping that the bomber will hit it, and it will not. So well, it's not so bad because it can't really hit can't really get a 2-for-1 because it only has 1 health. So the best it can do is just hit me for once and then kill one of my creatures. He uses Betrayal, which is quite an underused card in my opinion, but this time it works because he can clear the board with that and the weapon, and has the Wind Fury Harpy still on the board. I don't really think that I can kill it somehow. The only option is to use the Temple Enforcer's Battle Cry to make the panda a bit more durable. Now I think I'm quite a bit behind, both on cards and the board, especially with that creature. And I'm only at 4 health, so I have to do something to clear the board for once, which is gonna be really hard because I cannot mind control yet. And as you can see, I can only kill 1 creature, so it's kind of impossible for me to win.
Well played.
This game wasn't so bad. If you continue watching, then you might see some even more dumpstered plays. Okay, so our third game is gonna be against the mage.
Versus Jaina.
Let's hope we can win this one.
The light shall bring victory.
I don't really like to go 2 losses because then you get an extra frustration factor during your games. And I tend to get really mad at some plays against me, as you're about to see in the upcoming games, if not this one. I do remember that I lost some time against some ridiculous crap, so I don't know if this is the game, this is that game, or it's another one. We shall see.
Someday I'll be just like you.
Well, at least this mage didn't start with the ridiculously annoying monochrome play, so that's not so bad. I think that those cards that she just played are not very good. At least the monochrome are much worse than those.
We must cleanse the Sunwell.
That's kind of the only play that I have. I cannot not play a card here. Obviously here I'm hoping her to trade with like the bear, which she won't do, but it's still okay for me, I think. We can also get rid of the Demolisher with the Panther that I have installed.
Push forward.
And we can also play a card. I decided to put down the spell damage card because it's 4/4. It can't be killed with the by that gnome. And also the Divine Shield on the other card would be very vulnerable against the mage. It seems like he can kill my Panther with a ping, which I don't really mind. And with that charger we can clear his board, and slowly we are approaching the 7 mana stage for the mage, which is always very dangerous, obviously because she can flame strike at that point. So I suggest you play against the mage, then you always play around the flame strike. Well, that can be easier or harder than me here, depending on how big creatures you have generally. Okay, so she's put up a secret, which I don't think is vaporized, because vaporize would be a waste against this creature.
For honor.
It is not. So the most dangerous secret that mages have is most likely mirror image. You kind of, most of the time you kind of have to play around it and play like the weakest creature that you have. Like I do now.
Wanna blow something up?
Fortunately for us, it didn't use the battle cry, and it doesn't use the battle cry like ever. So that's on the plus side. But if I played like the Temple Enforcer, then that would be much worse for us than this. The Water Elemental is another very annoying card that the mage has. I think that Flame Strike, Fireball and Water Elemental are the 3 most annoying cards and the 3 cards that make Mage, well, a bit OP in Arena. So as you can see, I can't really play anything that would trade very well with the Water Elemental. So that's why I decided to play that. Well, arguably the Azure Drake would have been better, but that would have been killed as well.
Ready, sir.
Now is kind of the only time that I can use the Cabal Shadow Priest for something. Getting a 2-2 is not very good, but I think I kinda have to do it.
Let me change.
Unfortunately, I can't really play 2 creatures out of my 8 mana. So I do decide to get the 2-2. A real good target for the Cabal Shadow Priest would be that 2-7 guy. Okay, so we get Flame Strike. I don't think I could have played around it better, because if I play the Temple Enforcer, it would get dumpstered by the creatures that the mage has. I have 6 health and no taunt, and I can't really deal with the creatures that she has, so unfortunately I do have to concede, and this would be the last part of this video. Thank you for watching, and see you guys next time.